Okay, now that you have your table all filled out, I want you to turn that table over where you've got some blank paper. And this is kind of up to you if you want to write this down or not. This can also be used on your quiz. Um, this will go over the last four problems on the quiz, or problems like the ones that you'll see on the last four problems. And those will be extra credit. So you can choose to do them. You don't have to. It's kind of up to you. But if you do want to give them a try, here are some examples that you can use to help you through that. So this is also what we talked about toward the end of class last time. And we had four steps that we followed every single time. Okay. Step one, we simplified the numerator if there were multiple terms to combine. Step two, we simplified the denominator, again if there were multiple terms to combine. Step three, we simplified any terms that were on both sides of the fraction. So we canceled out anything we were able to cancel out. And then step four, if there was an exponent outside a larger set of parentheses, we distributed that to everything inside. So I'll give you three examples here that you can use to help you on those last four problems if you decide to do them. So let's get started. So step one, we would simplify the numerator if there were multiple terms to combine. There is only one term in the numerator here, so we're going to keep ab to the fourth power. Nothing to simplify there. Then in the denominator, we do have multiple terms, and one of those terms happens to have a set of parentheses in it, so we need to simplify those parentheses before we combine our two terms together. So we're going to distribute that 4 inside to the 2 and to the b. So we'll have 2 to the fourth power, which means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which simplifies to 16. And then when we have an exponent inside and outside, we'll multiply those together to get b to the 12th power. Now that we've simplified that smaller set of parentheses, now we can combine our two terms together. So when they're on the same side of the fraction, that means we multiply our coefficients and add our exponents. So we'll multiply 2 times 16 to get 32, and then we'll add any like variables. So there's only one a term, so that means we'll keep the a, but we do have two b terms here, so we'll add those exponents together. So 12 plus 1 gives us a 13. Let's clear that up. Alright, so we just completed steps 1 and 2. We simplified the numerator, simplified the denominator. Now we're ready to simplify the overall fraction. Cancel out any terms we have on top and on bottom of the fraction. So starting with the coefficient, there's nothing really to cancel that 32 out with except a 1. So that means we're going to keep 1 over 32. Then for our variables, we'll subtract our exponents because they're on opposite sides of the fraction. So for the a's, we have a 1 on both of these a's. So when we subtract them, 1 minus 1, that gives us 0. So that tells us that those a's can cancel out. We don't have any more a's left. Then for the b's, 4 minus 13 gives us a negative 9. So since we get a negative exponent, we know our variable will go in the denominator, where the exponent will become a positive 9. So the negative is just telling us where to put it, and then our exponent is positive in that place. So then our final answer will just be 1 over 32 b to the 9th power. Alright, let's try another one. This time we have a larger set of parentheses around the whole problem. So we will have to go on to that fourth step where we distribute that exponent to everything. But let's simplify that fraction inside first. So to start with, we're going to simplify the numerator. So we'll combine these x's together. So again, when we have the variables on the same side of the fraction, we add those exponents. So negative 3 plus 1 gives us a negative 2. There's only one y term, so we're going to keep that negative 2. And then for the denominator, we only have the one x term, so we'll keep it. And then all of that is still in parentheses. Alright, now we're moving on to step 3, where we cancel any terms that we have on both top and bottom. So these x's, we're going to cancel those out. So opposite sides mean we subtract the exponent. So -2 minus 2 gives us a -4. And since we get a -4, that tells us the x will go in the denominator, and that's where the 4 will become positive. Then for the y, there's nothing to cancel this y with, but because it does have a negative exponent on it, we can go ahead and move it to the denominator to make it positive. And since everything moved to the denominator and we're not left with anything in the numerator, we're just going to put a 1 in its place. And again, that whole thing is still being raised to the 4th power. All right, now we're ready for our final step where we distribute that exponent outside to everything inside. So in this case, we're distributing it to 3 things, to the 1, to the x, and to the y. So 1 to the 4th power just means 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1. No matter how many times you multiply or divide 1 by itself, you're just going to get 1. And then we'll multiply our exponents together. So 4 times 4 gives us 16. So we'll now have x to the 16th in the denominator. And then 2 times 4 will give us 8, so now we'll have y to the 8th power in the denominator. And both of those stay in the denominator because when we multiplied, we got a positive exponent, so that means they're going to stay where they started. No need to move them, and then that will be our final answer. All right, last one. Start with the numerator. There are 2 terms in the numerator, but they have different variables, the a and the b, so there's nothing to combine here. The only thing we might want to go ahead and do is cancel out this a to the 0 power, because if there are no a's, if it has a 0 exponent, that means there are no a's, so there's no need in writing it there. So that means we just have 2b to the -4th power, and then in the denominator, we have a set of parentheses, so we're going to distribute that 2 inside to the 3, where we'll multiply those 2 numbers together. So 3 times 2 gives us 6. All right, and now we're ready for step 3, where we cancel out the terms we have on top and on bottom. So we'll subtract -4 minus 6. Let's go back to the coefficient. My fault. So we have 2 divided by 1, which cannot simplify, so we're just going to leave that as a 2. Now we'll subtract our exponents. So -4 minus 6 gives us -10. And because that that exponent is negative, that tells us our variable will go in the denominator, where the 10 will become positive. And that would be our final answer. Remember, you know you're done when you just have one coefficient and one of each variable left. If you still have multiple b's or multiple x's or multiple of the same variable, you haven't simplified completely yet. So make sure you get it down to just one of each thing, then you know you're done. All right, so go back and watch these if you need to again. Write them down on the back of that table if you think that you'll want those examples to look at for the last 4 problems on the quiz. But again, those last 4 problems are extra credit, so you don't have to do them. You can give them a try if you want. You're not going to be taken off. I won't take off points if you get those wrong. I'll only give you points if you get them correct. All right, so take some time to watch through these 2 videos. Make sure you're ready to go for when the quiz starts. Good luck.